largest salary that I can get out of college? Like, what are some good high paying internships? Engineering. And at the time I was a pretty decent student. I like math, I like science. So I opted into that. And my first couple of engineering classes, like nothing against engineers, but anyone who's been like an engineering class, it's engineering. It's not like, your sunshine and rainbows, you know what I mean? So I was very bored, quite frankly, with like the people and the academia. And I just said to myself one day, Sean, I'm like, listen, like, I don't care how much money this is. They could pay me $100,000, $150K out of college. I can't do this. Like, it's way too monotonous and just tedious. And I can't physically see myself doing this. And I'll shout out my little brother, Ryan. He did something that's one of the most gracious things that he's ever done, and anyone's ever done for me. His college fund, he actually decided to withdraw going to school to give me that money to be able to pay the tuition. Wow. Which is an incredible story. Like, Ryan, my brother, if he's listening to this, is just he's my best friend in this life. I take a bullet for the guy, obviously, and can't say enough good things about him. But yeah, I mean, that's really what happened, man. And I took all these odd jobs, internships, engineering, getting a couple bucks there. I was a gym manager at the time, where I would essentially be working while I was like managing the gym, so I was trying to like just scrap together anything I can, for my dad or for myself, or just like, anything back home, which my mom probably doesn't even know that I did. But it was a lot, man. It was a lot. It was, freshman year, that was the time that I really grinded the most, I would say, to learn, okay, what do I want to do and what do I not want to do, I would say.
So then the media bug got you, the video bug. How did that come into play?
So it's a great story. I mean, at the time, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, like these, big social media icons, Grant Cardone, they were all kind of popping up. And I was like jealous. I was like, well, these guys are like in their 50s. I'm a young kid. I'm decently good looking. Like, what do they have that I don't? And, I wanted to kind of grow my social following, with everyone, kind of hearing my story. Like I would always kind of, I would say for the most part, like have a pretty interesting story. People talk to me. They're like, oh, Sean, like, I heard about your dad. What's going on with that? And they just kind of were captivated. So that actually started me making my own podcast. Actually, it was the Sean Boyle Podcast when I was in college. I ran it, I think, from freshman year all the way to junior year. And then I kind of just cut it off because I just didn't have the time. But it was great. I mean, it was an outlet for me to talk. I had some sponsors. I had some revenue coming in from that. I would just have it in my like college dorm, my college, apartment, where it was me, my editor and manager at the time, John Todd, who like would shoot and edit and everything. And then I had my roommates, Chakra, I think it was his name, this Indian guy, very funny, great guy. Ryan, he was another, Ryan Beaver, he was another person. And I don't know, like all these like guests who come in who are just like my friends in college, and we would honestly just like shoot the stuff, you know what I mean? Like we would just talk and have a good time and like, have a bunch of laughs and fun. And it was actually more therapeutic for me, Sean, because like being able to like talk about these stories of like me literally going to a prison with my dad, meeting a capo regime in like the Genovese family, right? The guy, I met a couple mob guys when I was there. It's just like unbelievable. Like they're like, oh, what was this guy like, that guy like? It was crazy. You know what I mean? It was literally nuts. And I wish I could talk more about that, maybe off the podcast. But yeah, man, I mean, it got to a point where, I was like, wow, this is like pretty interesting stuff. And then I decided to actually get a internship with a marketing company. And it so happens that the company that I interned with is now the company I own and that I founded a second portion of.
Oh, wow.
So Momentum was already an established company, I think back in like 2013. And I took an internship with them when I was, I think, a freshman, sophomore, whatever it was, sales internship, learned marketing, learned all like the, skills around that. And then I ultimately, what happened was, Sean, I took the video side that I liked and made like a separate company under the existing umbrella already. So you have the Momentum digital side, which was the already established one. And then I made the Momentum 360 side and kind of ran with that and took that ball and ran with it, once I got there. So that's pretty much the story behind it.
A lot of people don't know that, how I started in video was kind of interesting, and not to sidetrack, but it has a lot to do with Philadelphia, where you're at, is I was big into history stuff. And when my grandfather died, he gave me a bunch of his historical collectibles that weren't really collectibles when he was a young man, because it was kind of current history, things of that nature. So they shot a movie about the Underground Railway in Bucks County back in 2011, 2012. And I worked with former Eagle player Jeremiah Trotter on that film. And that's how him and I became friends. But anyway, I met a guy named Jeff, and he had a company called Iron Horse Cinema, and they asked me to become one of the owners of Iron Horse Cinema. So we did some movies, fan films, and some of them were really great. And one exploded and went viral, and it got like 3 million views in like 2 days. And this was back in like 2015. This isn't today. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun hobby. But then all of a sudden, one time I'm down in Philly eating at the Reading Terminal Market. Denix, shout out to Denix, pulled pork sandwich. Yeah. And this guy walks up and he says, are you Sean Kling from Iron Horse Cinema? And I said, yeah. I said, how do you know that? He goes, I'm like a huge fan. We want Iron Horse to come to Salt Lake City Comic-Con. So then they used to fly us around to speak at Comic-Cons and stuff like that. I flew out to Salt Lake City. We went to San Diego. We went all over the place. And I'm no longer a member of Iron Horse Cinema, but that's how I got to start. So it's interesting to hear how, like your story, how you kind of went there for an internship and next thing you're owning it. And it was kind of the same for me. I was doing some wardrobe on a set. Next thing you know, you're owning a part of a media company. And I left in 2017 before I moved to Florida, but it's an interesting story that you have.